So welcome to our boat. This is a Stadt Norman 40. She was built in Amsterdam. She's a 40-foot steel boat designed for both blue water cruising and living on. A lot of these boats were built to be charter boats in the Mediterranean, so she's one of very few that are in Canada. So we're really lucky to have found her. She's also a really fast boat, and we'll show you more of why that is when we show you outside after we show you inside. Alright, so I am standing in our aft cabin. So we have a full cabin back here. Right now it's my yoga room, but this is our guest cabin. This is where our guests sleep when they're here, and this is where we will sleep too if we end up doing overnight passages, which we are planning to do, because there's a lot less movement back here. It's also kind of where we hang our wet weather gear when it's dry, so you can see Logan's stuff is here. This is our hiking backpack with the bear spray. And all of my cold weather gear, which you'd think because it's August that would be away, but it's not because it's cold here all year round. So I own like 800 toques and I use them all. So a lot of them live here as well as scarves. Quite a bit of storage back here. We're having a bit of an issue with condensation that we've got to figure out, which is kind of another reason that we're not staying back here and we're staying in the V-berth. So that's going to be on the list of projects for this winter. The engine compartment is right underneath here. It goes in the aft cabin and it makes it so that the bed is at this weird angle because we've got an exhaust elbow that comes up at a 90 degree. So it wouldn't be very comfortable for us to sleep in here because we're both pretty tall, but shorter people seem to be fine in here. So that's where the guests sleep.
So this is our engine access, and I'll remove the step. These steps both come out. I don't have to remove them. It's just easier to see. So this is our Beta 50 engine, and it's almost new. It's really dirty because we're having issues with ventilation and the belt's getting hot, and it's got like belt debris, dust all over everything. And if I wipe it right now, everything gets smeared black, so I just have left it. We'll deal with that this winter because I'm gonna need to put better ventilation in and out of there and just see, because we don't know if it's gonna work or not for some of the problems that we're having. Right now it's insulated really well, except for going back from the engine into the bilge is not insulated. And that seems to bring up a lot of condensation just from the heat of the engine and then cooling down. Hopefully we can ventilate it better.
We have a very large saloon with beautiful large windows so that we get a ton of light in here, which is awesome. It's amazing. It makes living in here so much easier. As you can see, I'm growing quite a few plants. Some we can eat, a couple we can't, but they look pretty. I also can dry herbs and stuff, which is super useful when you're living in the middle of nowhere and it takes a few days to actually get to somewhere where you can buy stuff. All of our, well, most of our storage is actually under the seats here. So we have to take these off, and then underneath all of these seats is a bunch of storage. So as you can see here, this is mostly Logan's work stuff, his tools. And every single one of these seats has the same thing going on. Behind over here we also have more storage. As you can see, that's our library. So back here we've got quite a few books. Absolutely loaded with books back here. We like to read paper books. Lots of cushions on here, which drive Logan absolutely nuts. But my awesome, beautiful friend Michelle made us a couple of these cushion covers, which are awesome. Her company is called Random Bags of Kindness, and these are custom, one-of-a-kind pillow covers, and I absolutely love them. We also have a pillow cover we brought back from Peru, from the floating reed islands, And another little mountain pillow.
So we have like a pilot house kind of concept, but it's not actually a pilot house because we don't have controls inside. But this is where our engine panel is. So we've got our gauges, fuel level, which doesn't work.
As you saw in other videos.
Yeah, we still haven't fixed that. We have a depth sounder inside, and then we have our DC panel and our AC panel. We also have our Magnum inverter, charger, and the remote meter for our solar controller. And then we have our bilge pumps. We have a cabinet in here, which is all of our bus bar and wiring and stuff. We have our chargers, we have our Torpedo stored in here, my Milwaukee drill batteries and stuff. Way back in there. And the inverter's on to charge all that. It's all plugged into a power bar, and I just flip the power bar on and it charges all the stuff that's in there.
Right here is kind of my workstation. It's also obviously the chart table. So our chart table's flat and there's kind of like a drawer under here. And then right here is our freezer. So our freezer doubles as a seat. And right now there's quite a bit of fish in it, which is also awesome. So Logan added insulation in here because the insulation for this fridge freezer wasn't good enough for what we use it for. I don't think these things are actually designed to be used all the time. They're kind of like a portable camp type thing, but we're using it as an everyday freezer, so needed a little bit of extra insulation.
This is our galley, which is a couple steps down from the deck saloon, and it's a mess. Well, we haven't figured out a good layout for this yet. We do have plans to change it a bit for storage. We have a little 3-burner propane stove. I think it's called a Mediterranean Equator or something like that. It's a European brand and it seems to work okay. And we just have our single sink with a tap on the pump, and then we have 1-foot pump for here as well. And then there's just your general storage. Cupboards, stuff, food, it's jammed all in there. Forks and knives in a drawer.
A drawer, yeah.
And then more storage where we have mostly our preserves and some other food stuff. Because the water is so cold up here, and we still have very little refrigeration, like between the two. It's not quite enough. We've been putting stuff into the bilge to keep it cold, which we're running fairly shy on. And then around the corner here we have the new fridge that we put in this year. Just a basic little tiny fridge with a little freezer box and our toaster.
Alright, so this is our head. So we've got a pretty large head and bathroom in land talk. We've got lots of counter space. We have a Levac toilet, so essentially it uses suction to pull water in and out, seawater obviously, but it also does not deal with toilet paper very well, so all of our toilet paper is going in here because it just gets stuck in the pump, which is kind of smelly, but whatever, does the job. It also means that this whole toilet unit does not get as stinky because it's not dealing with the toilet paper going through and getting stuck. So like theoretically the toilet hoses should last longer than they do on like a regular pump head. Sink is just a regular sink. We've also got a little Brita filter on there. That's what we use for drinking water. And then around the corner in here is a full shower, a full standing shower. So the standing shower we haven't been using because there's issues with water getting into the wall and getting into the sole below it. Sole is like floor in land talk. So we have to essentially rebuild the entire shower before we can use it. So right now it's just kind of like our wet locker and our storage. It's our boat garage right now, is what it is. Quite a bit of storage in here. Same as the galley, essentially. And yeah, that's pretty much the head. There's bilges underneath here as well that we can get access to, but we haven't been using them for anything. Okay, and then this is the V-berth. So this is our bedroom. So in here, we have obviously the V-berth bed, which Logan and I are both about 5'10", 5'11", and we just fit. But our feet are snuggling. There's not quite enough room at the end for our feet to be comfortable in there. All of our clothing goes around up here, which is like works surprisingly well. There's not a ton of condensation issues. And then we have a little bit of storage in here and in here, and then storage underneath again. So like in here right now, oh, there's nothing in that one. The one behind has extra juice in it right now. And we also have our beautiful, wonderful wood stove that we fought so hard to get insurance for. So the wood stove was a must for us, mostly because we're living in such a wet climate and we want it to be off-grid as much as possible in the winter. And because it's a wet climate, that also means that in the winter it's pretty much cloudy all winter long and we can't deal with solar. So we wanted something that wasn't going to need any energy from electricity in order for us to use it to stay warm, in case that was the only option. So we finally got insurance for this thing. It was very difficult to get insurance. It cost us quite a bit of money, but we did. And we've used it lots and been very happy with it. So also, this is one of my favorite things that we've done. So behind the door is a full-length mirror, which we actually salvaged from an abandoned logging camp. So we found it in this camp in one of the bunkhouses in one of the bedrooms, and we brought it back. Now we have a mirror, which is awesome because we lived here for how many months? Didn't have a full-length mirror. All I could see was like this much of my face in one mirror in the bathroom, so it's awesome to have that. Then in here we also have more storage, which is pretty much just our rain gear and our sweaters, which is a lot because again we live on the coast and it's cold. Under here is where we keep most of our wood for the fireplace and like fire starter, stuff like that. So that'll need to be restocked obviously after this winter, but yeah, our dirty laundry stays there. And then under the V-berth is a ton more storage, which I'm not going to open up and show you, but I mean, you know what storage looks like. So pretty much the whole under the V-berth is extra storage and it's pretty full right now.
And what else lives under there?
The bow thruster. The bow thruster is also under there. Okay, so the floors, or soles, sorry. The sole, that's the boat name for floors, is just painted. It's painted with non-skid because the theory is that if you're offshore and you get pooped or just you get your soles wet, you're gonna be slippery if you have like proper wood or carpet's disgusting on a boat. So one of those things. So it's just painted with non-skid, which personally I would like to change, but I don't know what we're going to do with that. So it's working well right now for what it is. We also bought a few carpets which we've put down, and we just, if we're underway and it's wet or whatever, we can just store them so then the sole's safe and grippy still, and they're really easy to just shake out and like launder and whatever, so they don't stay dirty and it's not gross.
Alright, so as you can see, this is our cockpit. We have wheel steering, and it is rack and pinion steering, which is all inside here, and you have to take panels off to see any of it. So I won't show you that. It's really nice, and it's the first time we've had rack and pinion steering, or even heard of it really, and it's been like really nice and trouble-free. Yeah, I don't know, we usually stand up on these hatches because you get a really good view of everything, but generally I guess you're supposed to sail down here.
If you're on a heel anyway, right?
Yeah, so these plates from here to here are up on an angle. And it's about perfect when the boat's heeled over, so you're standing actually flat. And I find it kind of hard to see from here, because we've got the fuel cans up front, and the boom in the way, and everything else. I like to stand up on here. So here is a huge storage locker that goes all the way back and around. And it's kind of annoying to get in and out of. It's really tough for me. But it's great for carrying all the stuff we have. Fishing gear and crab traps and spare anchor and all kinds of stuff in there. Garbage, that's where we keep our garbage when it's not...
When it's too stinky to be inside.
Yeah, when it smells too bad. And then a propane locker on this side. Nothing exciting, just propane bottles. So the sugar scoop on this boat is like really nice for lifting groceries and getting stuff on and off the boat, getting into the dinghy, especially for the dog. He can just hop in and hop out, and it's no big deal. Solar arch also is our Dinghy Davit. So we have these davits that we can hoist the dinghy up, and we do that with the motor on it and everything, and it seems to work really well. They're a little bit short, and this generally gives everybody a lump on their head.
Good bonking height.
Yeah, so we have an array of equipment, radar and antennas and GPS and all that stuff up here. We also have the solar, and there's about 220 watts of solar up here. And then over there we have another 120 watts or 130 watts, I can't remember. But that one swings, so we can angle it to the sun. We have a little bimini cover that goes on here, and this folds out and it attaches up under here. But it shades our solar panel, so we rarely use it. And that's why it's not on right now. But just forward of the wheel is our main sheet track. Our traveler. So that can go back and forth on there, and it's kind of nice because you can be here with the winches and control the main sheet and the jib sheets, or you can be behind the wheel and just reach forward and grab them too. So under this side here is the aft cabin. So there's a couple of port lights side and back. And on this side, we have a huge locker. It's full of crap right now, but you can pretty much climb in there and go all the way to the back just about, or crawl down underneath. Down there is we have a hot water tank that works off of the engine coolant to heat it, or when we're plugged into shore power. Yeah, and that's where our Webasto air top heater is as well, and all kinds of fishing gear and random stuff.
Sails.
So
up front we have storage for extra diesel, gas. On the other side we have water and gas. It looks like water and diesel, but that jug is actually gas, not diesel. We have winches on the mast for the mainsail. We also have a high aspect ratio rig, which essentially means that we have a very tall mast for the length of our boat. So that means that anything over 15 knots, we don't have our full main up. Our mainsail also has 3 reefing points in it. So, like I said, over 15 knots, we have at least 1 reef in, if not more. But it's really nice to know that we have those 3 reefing options because the sail is so big. So this winch controls a bunch of stuff for our head sails. So like all these halyards, the halyards that work with the sails up here. And then on the other side we have the winch that we use for our main halyard, mostly. There's a lot of lines on this boat. There's a lot going on as far as the actual sailing goes. As we use it more, we'll try to talk more about all that stuff. But we've got a boom brake, we've got a hydraulic
boom vang.
Boom vang. Oh yes, and we have 2 sets of backstays. So this boat is cutter rigged, which means essentially that we can have 2 foresails up at the same time. So because of that and the height of the mast, we need extra backstays to balance the force. So these backstays make sure that we have force pulling back in the center of the mast instead of just at the top, so that if we have our smaller foresail up, then the mast doesn't bend like this and end up breaking. So forward we actually have 3 forestays. So we have this baby forestay, we have this staysail forestay, and then we have our jib forestay. Those backstays we just showed you, they're to balance out this forestay. This is our staysail. It's a hank-on, so that means that we clip it on and pull it up every time, whereas this one is on a furler, so it just winds around the mast and stays like this. But we thought we wouldn't really like the hank-on, but it actually works pretty well. And the awesome part about this forestay as well is that it actually unhooks. So you can unhook it and take it right off when you're not using it and move it up there, which is great because this head sail is huge and it actually gets caught on our forestay a lot when we're tacking or jibing. So if we're in light enough winds, we just take this right off so that we can tack and jibe with the head sail better when it's fully extended.
So here's our chain locker, which there lies our problem for this winter.
One of 2.
One of the 2 problems. And it doesn't work very well right now, and we're modifying it, so I'm not going to really show you that. But here's our Windlass, which is a low friends Cayman. It seems to work good. It pulls the chain up, puts it down.
Does the job.
Yeah, this boat's got bulwarks on it instead of a tow rail, and they're steel box tube, so they couldn't be painted inside, and they would have been fine in theory, except for at some point in time oxygen was introduced and they've rusted. Like, they've rusted really bad to the point where they're just not repairable anymore, and although they look half decent now, they're not. So they were filled at one point with some fluid film, and the fluid film is starting to leak out, and we've got to get it fixed, because it's, I mean, fluid film is not toxic or anything like that. It's basically like lanolin oil. So we're gonna end up cutting them all off this winter and replacing it with something that's not boxed in, so that it can be painted on both sides and not rust, or, you know, be easily repairable if it does rust. But yes, if anybody has any ideas, I'm all ears for that, and the chain locker, because we haven't really decided. We're going to keep a chain locker. We're not doing a drum winch on the deck. It's too much work. It's too bulky, too heavy, too expensive. Yeah, there's a million reasons why we're not doing it. We're going to put a chain locker back in, and we're just going to make it so that it's easily serviceable, and then try and keep the chain up off of the steel.
Thanks for watching this tour video, and if you haven't already and want to see more of our adventures with Papa Rumba, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below.